Procedure issue I have relates to the statement that you said the Minister for Regional Cooperation was still carefully putting together. Mr. Speaker, you know, we have invested money in doing roads linking us to Eastern DRC. You also know, Mr. Speaker, that we are paying almost $1 trillion shilling to DRC because of stealing its gold. We've been paying money in the budget. I am only requesting, if you may find the pleasure, Mr. Speaker, in asking the Minister for Regional Cooperation to update us on especially the investment we have made, which makes sense, especially trade. And then finally, Mr. Speaker, the banning of our embassy, as you say, the Minister will explain. I have raised the issues here of the reckless conduct of our CDF. The other day he spoke in defense of, in support of M23, and we nearly got chased from Congo, our military who is fighting there. Can you, Mr. Speaker, also ask defense to come here and explain? Because these things were bound to happen. When you're talking about it, some MPs thought we were joking. The way he was mocking Congo. The reckless nature of the CDF, the trouble that it has started causing Uganda, because that banning of our embassy is partly because of his tongue. Can you, Mr. Speaker, procedurally ask defense to come here and explain if now they have contained his tongue? Because sooner than later you'll have a problem either with Khartoum, with Ethiopia, the other it was Kenya, now they are banning our embassies our embassy in Congo.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable. To begin with, tomorrow we are getting a statement, and I can see your submission was more or less debating the statement which we're expecting tomorrow. So let's first get a statement tomorrow, okay? Then if there are any clarifications from government, they'll be made here. They'll be made. Number two, really, I think it will be unfair for me to ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs to come and update government on roads we are doing in DRC, on payments, when these roads and their funding was approved by us as Parliament, and there is a sectoral committee in charge. Honourable colleagues, we've received 2 reports. Members of the committee are constrained to debate the same. So I'm just going to allow me, because these are our findings, we shouldn't take, okay, that long. So I'll start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I'm picking you, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I've picked you. You follow yourselves in that order.
Thank you. Right. Okay.
What we do, I hope Clark has helped me to note, we can mix. Okay? Yes, let's try to mix.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I'd like to thank the Chair for the report and for some of the good recommendations. I know this report is only not concerning Luzira. Some of the things he has mentioned are happening even elsewhere. And I know the committee has even ever moved to other prisons and saw what is happening there. So some of the recommendations should be taken up for action, but most commonly, the congestion is almost everywhere in all the prisons in the country. Then secondly, the prolonged pretrial detention. Even the Attorney General, I think, had already mentioned about it. So it's a very, very big concern that prisoners stay long when they are not tried, and also that contributes to the congestion. So I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable colleagues, on these issues, I saw the reaction. There is a matter which has been settled, okay, from what I see, because the majority report touched it and the minority report didn't didn't disagree. There had been perceived a situation that Besigye is denied food. I think that's a settled matter now. He appointed 3 people who can take for him non-cooked food. If you are not among those 3, because the public should know, because you know they can go to the Zira carrying food and all that. If you are not among those 3 who were nominated by Besigye, your food won't be allowed in. And the same applies to Mr. Haj Obed Kamrege. I think that's a settled matter. Honourable Jonathan, on that, because I wanted us to shape our issues very well. We know the issues which were raised here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to confirm that position, that any member of the public that would like to support Dr. Besigye is free as long as the food goes through those 3.
Okay.
Because as you know, once you're in prison, you are limited and support is required. So it is not like the rest should not. But
Okay.
it should also be on the record initially that the main point that was raised here was that Dr. Besigye was denied food. It is true, he confirmed to us that when he went to prison at first, he was allowed to access his own food and prepare. Then at some point, the prisons changed the rules and said, we will not allow you to prepare your own food. Mm-hmm. What we shall allow is that you give us money and we buy for you from the canteen, the staff canteen, or you send us outside and we buy for you. Now that is linked to his fear. So he refused to eat what ordinarily would be a hunger strike. And the prisons eventually reconciled and agreed that yes, you can now resume and get your supplies, but because you have accused us that you are not safe here, we want 3 people to be the one to bring for you food. So that matter has been settled, although it was a concern.
Okay, thank you. Honourable Christine. Honourable
Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I think it's important for this country to get the truth. I was among the people who went to Zira. The reason is given by Dr. Besigye for not eating food. And the prison is also answered. They said they were receiving many visitors bringing food to Dr. Besigye. And they were worried. So what they said, it was just an oversight. It was a point of agreement on whether they should continue bringing food for Dr. Besigye or he buys food from the prison canteen. And because they wanted to safeguard his life, they said as prisoners, we are not going to allow all these people whom we do not trust to bring food for Dr. Besigye. So the only idea was for him to buy food from their safe stores. So Dr. Besigye was also adamant. He said, I cannot trust the jailer. Therefore, I can only designate my person who will be supplying me with the food. That was what he said. But for you to say that they were forcing him to buy food from the prison, it was not true. I think we need to tell Ugandans the truth, other than exciting the nation. This is what, and Right Honourable Speaker, the gentleman was very honest. Even what our colleagues from opposition were pushing him to say otherwise, Dr. Besigye was honourable enough to tell the committee the truth and the whole truth. Even the issue of his staying in a single room, it is not true. These are people just like those of you who have rented. You have an apartment, and one of you staying here, another one here. It is not true that he's even staying in one room and he's put alone there. Even access to worship, he gets even a bishop to attend to him religiously.
Thank
I
you.
think it is important to tell the country the truth.
Thank you. But Rook, honourable colleagues, me, I see apart from the tone, you presented the same. Apart from the tone, okay? Yeah, the only issue which I had there, which Honorable Wakori said, was it is being insinuated that Besigye was being forced to buy food from the canteen. But from the records I have, I interacted with members on both sides, opposition and NRM, who went to Ruzira. You're corroborating information, and I think we are moving very well. Okay, we are moving very well on these issues. Honorable Christine, then Honorable Nwagawa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity.
I'm picking from here and here, so but I remember.
Right Honorable, I want to appreciate government on a note that Dr. Besigye made a statement on improvement in the conditions in prison. It means that the effort of Parliament has been considered. I now want to support also one particular recommendation on the removal of the bucket system. And I want to agree that in some of our areas, the bucket system is no longer there. How I pray that it cuts across the country. And also to thank the prison leadership for the better handling techniques. Because surely, when we look at this situation, where Dr. Besigye is allowed to see his personal doctor on daily basis, whenever necessary. I am actually giving a reference that where he's allowed to see his personal doctor, that is okay, because there is no aspect of imposing doctors on him. So my prayer, Right Honorable, is that the improvement in the conditions in Luzira prisons should cut across the entire country in relation to the provision of water services. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nwagawa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I will respond to the two reports and begin with the one from the Attorney General. I would invite the Attorney General to reread Article 129 of the Constitution and see whether the reference to subordinate courts includes the reference to military courts or military tribunals, as they are called, vis-a-vis Article 210 of the Constitution. And if you applied both the strict interpretation rule and the jus dem generis rule, whether you would import the provisions of Article 210 to Article 129. And I will respectfully disagree with you that military courts are envisaged as subordinate courts under Article 129. Secondly, in respect of police bond, well, thank you for the clarification, but you need to be very clear and advise the policemen who have now taken the presidential directive on banning giving of bonds, because the bond is giving of bond is a discretion. It's a discretion on the police, and you know the time, the constitutional time frame of bringing suspects to courts, the weaknesses in investigations and the like. So you must be very clear that yes, if you are to deny a person bond, make sure that you produce that person in court within 48 hours. Lastly, on the report of both the minority and the majority report of the Human Rights Committee, I believe they both agree, but essentially they both agree, but there are two areas. One, the idea of solitary confinement of a prisoner, especially who is on remand, because solitary confinement is literally a punishment. It is actually serving a sentence. So the solitary confinement of a prisoner on remand, to me, is illegal. It amounts to torture and must be condemned. And the prison officers must be cautioned and told in an explicit terms, they should not be confining a prisoner who is on remand to solitary confinement. Two, and lastly, wrong pre-trial remands. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated substantial monies to the judiciary. And actually the judiciary has over-decentralized I even pity some of the recruited judicial officers who have been posted to sub-counties without any facilities. But unfortunately, the office of the DPP, which deals with people in prisons, has not been given matching resources to recruit staff. And this is an area that the Attorney General and the Minister of Finance should take it upon themselves. Either we halt the further expansion of the judiciary until we match the human resources of the office of the DPP, or do away with the judiciary in some of the areas. Because part of the explanation why we have prisoners on remand for these long periods is largely because the office of the DPP is not as facilitated as the judiciary. But we also need to caution the judiciary. There are provisions in the Constitution where you can give people, you can raise people on their own cognizance after they have spent the mandatory period in the prison without trial. The judiciary is not using that opportunity, is not using that discretion. We really need to cut down the numbers of prisoners on remand in a prison who have not been tried. Person being in the prison for 28 years, honestly, and then you sentence him after? No. We need something to be done, Mr. Speaker, sir.
But by the way, on that issue, I forgot. I don't know. Well, the presiding officer had already pronounced that the Attorney General responds. But I think these are some of the issues which the committee should go and look at. For example, someone in prison for 28 years on remand, it just shook me. And it can happen to any of us. It can happen. 28 years, I don't know which crime he would have committed. I don't know which sentence that person will get. Procedurally, let me get the opinion of my colleagues here. Procedurally, I'm still just trying to get an opinion of the colleagues. No, mine which I'm on is different. I'm on someone who is in prison for 28 years. You're talking of Besigye who went there yesterday. We are talking of 28 years. Okay? So, Honorable Chair rules. Honorable Chair rules. On that same person of 28 years?
He's not in for 28 years just on remand. He has never appeared in court.
For 28 years?
Because you can be on remand when you are appearing in court. But this very one, they're actually two. One has been there for 28, another one 16 years, and both of them have never appeared in court. And they're just waiting for the minister's order.
Now, because you see why, yes, Attorney General before Chairman rules, so that I seek my guidance on this.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. When we appeared before the Committee of Human Rights earlier today, I appeared together with the Commissioner General of Prisons, and some of these issues were raised. We agreed that we are going to take 2 days, engage with the leadership of prisons and get all the necessary information and see the next step. Either ask for an automatic release or advise accordingly. But in 2 days, we'll be able to get back here.
If you're asking for 2 days,
yes.
If you've agreed upon 2 days, can you update the House on Tuesday?
Yes.
Over the same?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
No.
Mr. Speaker.
No, honorable colleagues, let us take it as if, let us not take it as if the minister has gotten only 2. No, because this came from the House itself. I'm sure they must have given more information, and there are more people. Okay?
Mr. Speaker, so among the issues they raised, there were some who have been there awaiting ministers' orders. Those who are deemed mentally, and they have been waiting. So, but now we need to engage with the commissioner, okay?
Honorable colleagues, no, so this matter, Honorable Katunta, I had wanted your guidance, but with the submission of the Attorney General, I've gotten a true picture.
Yes.
The Attorney General has said, the Attorney General has said they've agreed that within 2 days they should sort this matter. Okay? And I'm saying 2 days, start tomorrow and Thursday. They even have an allowance of Friday and Monday. Then on Tuesday, the coming Tuesday, the Attorney General updates the House on the status of prisoners of that category and what they've done about it. And then we can carry it from there.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Can we continue with the debate? Honourable Katun to...
I don't, as you know, I don't always rise up on such issues. Right Honourable Speaker, we seem to be dealing with a systematic problem. It's not about Luzira. Public prosecution. Because if you have investigated a matter and you have a suspect or can accused and you have not prosecuted him for 20 years, 20 years, this is not investigation, including a judicial commission of inquiry. It is not only illegal, it is certainly unconstitutional. Because the Constitution, Right Honourable Speaker, demands for a fair, speedy trial. It's a constitutional command. How can it, somebody has been arrested and is now begging to be prosecuted. And he begs for 20 years. Please prosecute me. Please prosecute for 20 years. We cannot sit here as legislators. Not these guys who put on wages as judges to say they are dispensing a system of justice which keeps somebody in jail for 20 years without a due process of the law. So, Right Honourable Speaker, as the Attorney General comes after the days you've given him, I think he should be able to look at the entire, and he gives us statistics. I thank you, Right Honourable.
Attorney General, Honourable colleagues, we are diverting our debate. We have been on an issue, so let's remain focused. Attorney General.
Right Honourable Speaker, this, in light with what my senior Honourable Katuntu has said, the Commissioner General for Prisons has shared a list already. So we are going to look at it.
Across the whole country?
Yes, across the whole country.
Okay.
And I think that should also go a long way in answering what Honourable Dur was saying earlier.
Thank you.
We will report back on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But Honourable Attorney General, as we report back, someone slept on a job, and which resulted into very serious and bad consequences. Huh? It's unacceptable. 28 years? Number one, who is keeping that prisoner? If you have someone for 28
Today is doctor, tomorrow is somebody else. I would like to tell you that for us as mothers, it is so painful, especially the minority report pointed out at doctor going on hunger strike. It's very, very painful. His brother, his younger brother, died after prison. So he has all the fear for being poisoned. Why do we deny him food from out? We know that the practice there, yes, it was there. At first he was denied. That was why he had to go on hunger strike. Until then, they open.
Let's go on unsettled issues, because settled issues will drain us.
Yeah. So, at least we are happy that this is now helping us even to solve other problems, other people's problems. At least one time I even visited Luzira prison and gathered with people from the north to find out that one person was there without proper documentation. How do you allow a person in prison without proper documentation? Then I asked, how did he enter here without proper documentation? So I think that one should also be investigated. I left it out to the legal minds. You know, for us, we are not legal minds. But it is very painful when we take people in detention, in prison. We all want peace. And in order for us to have this peace, justice should just be there. It should be there for all of us.
Thank you, Honorable. Colleagues, you know, Honorable Dur shocked me, so I'm still recovering. And that someone has been in prison more than, I think, the years Honorable Frank Akawi has. Honorable Frank Akawi, are you more than 28? Oh, yes, Honorable Frank Akawi here. And I think Honorable Auma, Heren. And Honorable, you know, it's really shocking. To me, the visit to the prisoners, but then I will ask you, Chairman, also, you have been giving us a report every year on the status of prison. How come you had never seen this? How? Parliament has been here for the last over 28 years.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. Right Honorable, the record will bail me out. We have constantly raised in our reports the questions of long pre-trial detention. It's on record. This House has made resolutions in respect of this matter.
You see, Chairman, why I'm asking how you present. For example, Honorable Dur has made it very easy for me, and by shocking me, that someone for 28 years. I don't think even Attorney General would hear that someone has been in prison for 28 years, and it goes on as business as usual. But when we do generic reports,
no,
okay?
Right Honorable, I am not in the habit of authoring generic reports. Yeah. I am a slave of detail. In all our reports, we have indicated to this House, naming persons, giving the dates on which they were arrested. Biamukama Alifred, arrested on 12 March 1997. The case, murder, mental issue, schizophrenia, the court circuit, Mbarara. If you calculate from 1997 to current date, it gives you 26 years. We have stated, named the specific prisoners. But, Right Honorable Speaker, you were talking about sleeping on the job. Even the Commissioner General of Prisons has constantly reminded the Ministry of Justice and the judiciary we tasked them every 6 months to write to the judiciary and point out the plight of these prisoners. And they have been doing that consistently.
Anyway, Tuesday, let's look at this matter on Tuesday extensively, okay? Tuesday. So, Honorable Rita. What's that?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to comment on two things. The first, the Deputy Attorney General's statement that has pointed out the issue of the presidential directive on bail. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue about bail of bond is a two-edged sword. It amazes me that if you owe a moneylender any coin, you will actually not be granted bail. But if you steal a border from a border rider and you are arrested, even by the help of themselves, in a day you're going to be given bail. Bond rather. I had 2 meetings with border riders in Barra City on the 28th of December last year and the 24th of January. They are very devastated and desperate, to the extent that they think probably taking the law in their hands is the solution. So as we agitate to say bond should be given to people, we also need to consider the village thieves. I think the president's idea is really factual. People who steal goats, who steal people's, raid people's chickens, they go scot-free because the moment they enter, they are given bail. So we need to be very considerate, Attorney General, on that matter. So as you cry the other side, that bond should be for everybody. And the issue of the lack of the small claims courts comes in there. So Right Honorable, I think the Speaker should be able to elaborate on this issue. The Attorney General, that if somebody has taken my goat, it is 150,000. Must I go through the whole process? Because the police, for instance, in Barra City, are full of young people, and they cannot have the capacity to process all these small claims to be cleared so that they go back home. So we need, I request your indulgence, that Right Honorable Speaker, you task the Deputy Attorney General to substantiate on this matter of the small claims, the issue of bond. Then the other, Right Honorable Speaker, most times in this house, most of you are lawyers, you are referring to the law, but also sociologists exist. The functions of the prisons are very key. Most cardinal are 4, but I just want to use 2. One is the issue of deterrence and rehabilitation. And recently we talk about restitution. So if you are confined, you are in jail for 28 years, others are actually 15, others could even be 3 months, which you shouldn't be. Are we solving any problem, or are we addressing the cardinal reasons why people go to jail? So I think I support Right Honorable that the committee should go back and bring lists of individuals who are in these prisons. The person being spoken about here comes from Barara. And I don't think he or she is the only one. So the committee should do us justice, go back and bring these lists so that we task the minister, the judiciary, to be able to remove these cases so that we know we are making work, we are not just here speaking. Thank you very much, Right Honorable.
Thank you. I think, Rita, what you're saying is in line with what Honorable Nwagaba requested, that clarify to the police officers. This clarification would be good so that they know it's not just a matter of denying. Ensure people are tried. If they are not tried within the constitutional limit time, give them bond. Okay? But of course, village thieves are a big problem. Someone just came to my trees. He had the audacity to cut trees and even bring a roller and road. and he's from Morocco. And then they go to Mitoma, they get bond. And then coffee, you do coffee, they harvest on your behalf. You do coffee, they harvest. You do seedlings, when they want to go and get a drink, they pass by your nursery bed, they sell around 10 seedlings and get money for waraji. So it's a big problem, but I mean, voters, voters. Yes, Honorable Nzima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to make comment on 3 issues. Issue number 1 is to thank the committee for this report. Because when this issue was presented in the House, it appeared very nasty, and it was also accompanied by a picture of Dr. Besigye. But when you listened to the report, it has clarified all this. And on the other side, the report also raises question about the credibility of the issue which was raised and the manner in which it was raised. So I want to thank committee for that. The issue of limited dietary implications to the inmates. I had an interaction with the prison authorities. They said actually they produce all the food for the prison. I mean people who are in prison. And also they have gone ahead to produce seeds for the country. They are supplying many farms, private farms with the seeds and seedlings. So I think the best we could do is to encourage them to diversify the production of food so that it can meet that dietary challenge. The issue raised by the committee about congestion. I had an interaction with a former inmate who told me he had the chance to go to 2 of these prisons, Chigo and Luzira. But he told me if he is to tell me the stories, much as people complain about situations in Luzira, it is worse in Chigo. Even the food is not enough. When it comes to sleeping spaces, if you are lucky to get a space where to put yourself, you will be actually the luckiest. So I think the recommendation by the committee that government needs to look into building more prisons so that we reduce the congestion. We need to build more facilities, prison facilities, to reduce the congestion. I really support it, and as Parliament, we should really look into thinking about that. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Namboze.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I visited Ruzila in my capacity as the Shadow Minister for Internal Affairs, and I had the opportunity to go inside the prison and even visit the room, the so-called room where Dr. Besigye is being held. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell colleagues here that Dr. Besigye was once a Minister of Internal Affairs. Today, he is the prisoner for whose rights we, this House, sits to deliberate. Let's not wait until we become suspects or even convicts in Ruzira before we would come out to support for better conditions in our prisons. Mr. Speaker, when I visited the room where Dr. Besigye is being held, and I want to put the room in commas, it is like a hall that is only 1 meter wide. In fact, the adjacent bathroom is bigger than the sleeping cubicle. There is no window, but a single ventilator that is about 20 feet high. It's like when you are in that cubicle, it is as if you are in a hall. There's no window. And I think these are cubicles.
Honorable Numbers, what is cubicle? So, sir, for the record.
I'm sorry, I withdraw that. I wanted to tell you, what I wanted to express was that it is really a very tiny place. It's like a box. It's very tiny.
It's a small cubicle for record purpose.
And it is so small, Mr. Speaker, that I was tempted to forget that this is Parliament, and I used that word. I'm sorry. So, Mr. Speaker, I think these cubicles which are slightly bigger than a coffin, were created for hardcore criminals who have been convicted, but not people on remand. People on remand are not guilty. They have not committed the only offense. They are just being held there for the sake of the processes of law. And the probability that they will be declared innocent is even high. It is so bad to make somebody to serve a punishment while on remand. Remand, in any case, Mr. Speaker, if we had provisions, we would not mix up convicts and the people on remand. 2, this tiny coffin-like hole where Dr. Besigye is being held is locked from outside all the time. These people in Luzira, they serve lunch in the morning. At 9 o'clock in the morning, they are serving lunch. At 3 p.m., they are serving supper, and it is bedtime. Mr. Speaker, to be held in that condition for several hours, it is torture. The bed in that cubicle does not even have a mattress, but only 2 folded blankets. I don't know if we are intending to create another Mandela for this country, because these are places people will try and say, how cruel were these people who lived during these times, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is not about Besigye alone, but it also affects other many people. For example, by the time I visited that place, which holds 18 people, only 3 of those 18 were convicts. Only 3. Others, that was one NOP supporter. He was arrested when he was coming in from South Africa because he's a member of our chapter in South Africa. In 2001, up to today, he's still there. In 2021, he was visiting Uganda from South Africa, but because he belongs to the NOP chapter in South Africa, he was arrested at the airport. His claim, he told me, he's not, even us at NOP, we are not aware that he's there. Because even his relatives in Uganda didn't know that he had traveled to Uganda, and those people in South Africa are considering him missing. So, Mr. Speaker, it is not about even putting better conditions for some prisoners at Luzira. It's about resolving our political issues. Some people are being held as political prisoners, and we now have a category of prisoners who are called political prisoners. People who were arrested go to jail through the court-martial, and then until they plead guilty through full figure and balam. You cannot be released from prison until you are forced into a forced plea of guilt. Mr. Speaker, it is so disheartening to have to resolve our political issues using the UPDF courts.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Nzima, then Honorable Abdallah, then Chair, Vice Chair. Oh, sorry. No, Thomaza. Sorry. No, Honorable Thomaza had not spoken.
Thank you very much.
My OBs, I can't forget you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Yeah, a lot has been talked about Dr. Besigye while in Luzira prison. Issues related to safety, security locks, solitary confinement, prayers, and so on and so forth. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Besigye is a high-profile prisoner in Luzira prison. And I have not heard about issues related to communication and information. Does he have access to television? Does he have access to radio? Because not having access to this is tantamount to blindness. He's being made blind. He cannot see what's happening in the outside world. And yet he's a high-profile politician and a prisoner. And so my concern here is that in the nearest future, let such high-profile politicians or prisoners have access to communication, access to television, access to radio. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Chair will help us on that. Honorable Abdallah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, first of all, I'll invite colleagues to only
I can
look
see
at
high-profile people are robbing.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'll invite colleagues to specifically look at two articles of the Constitution. One is Article 28.3, which provides for innocence until proven guilty. In this line, the Attorney General, I beg that you advise the President. A person, once he has been arrested, he is presumed innocent. We may not run away from this person being tried, and we are not running away that a person should not be tried. One, as it was said, that advise police 48 hours, it is a dictate of the Constitution. Once investigations are not yet over, the Constitution is very clear. You should be very clear about that. Article 28, Article 128, it is about the independence of the judiciary, where it clearly states that no person shall interfere with the judicial system or give them directions about what to be done. You have clearly said that the President, and has always been saying that I have directed the Chief Justice not to grant bail, now not to grant bond. This has been consistent with the President. Why interfering with the judicial system? Yet the Constitution is very clear about that. And lastly, I'm not going to comment about the Kabazguruka case because it is the sub judice. There is a very recent judgment of Semju Abdul Nur versus Attorney General. It is number 4 of 2018, and the judgment was delivered on 3rd February 2023, clearly stating that civilians should not be tried in court martial. You are not implementing it. You are just silent and keeping quiet about that. And the very last one, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to inform through you the Attorney General. Honestly, I for one, I may not be complaining about Dr. Kizza, but he's being charged with 3, with Olal and Obed. You have not talked about Olal. Even the report from the committee does not talk about where is Olal. Olal, where is he? Is he in prison? Where is he being detained? We need clarification about. Is also being charged.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Linus. Then Honorable Frank Akabuye.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, the Committee of Human Rights. The chairperson in his statement here mentioned that there are 3 groups of people qualified to provide food, not deliver food to retired colonel.
3 individuals, not 2 groups.
3 individuals, yes. But again, as government, you know, the opposition are so desperate for power, and they will look for everything to tarnish the name of government. And Right Honorable Speaker, do the prison authorities check the food that is delivered? Because even those individuals delivering food might compromise the food and eventually poison the victim or the person jailed is or incarcerated is poisoned, and they start tarnishing and blaming government for poisoning a person in prison. So we also have to look through that as the committee, and then also come up, because government also, we are vulnerable. They can do everything in order to tarnish our image. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Honorable Frank Akabuye, then Honorable Ongiso. Honorable
Thank
Emmanuel
you.
Ongiso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the committee for the observations and some of the recommendations, especially from the minority report. Mr. Speaker, my concern is about the 500% congestion rate in Luzira prison. I believe this is not only in Luzira but also in other prisons, just like comrades have said about Chigo and Chitalia and other prisons where many people have been remanded or convicts have been sentenced to. Right Honorable Speaker, most of these people have not been seen into courts. They have not seen justice, they have not been convicted, but they are on remand for years. And this is affecting their families, their rights, because these are young people. When we speak about the convicts, and when we speak about these that are remanded for over years, for example, in NUP, we have many political prisoners who are still in Chitaria, who are in Chigo, who are in Luzira, and their rights are not being served because they have been denied justice in the courts of law. And these are the people that are accumulating or are congesting the prisons which were meant to hold only 600 prisoners. Now they are in 3,000 prisoners. How I wish the judiciary and also government comes out clear to give freedom to these young people, because most of them are being charged politically. They are not, they have not been into the corruption that we have been seeing around. They have not been found with any arms, but they have put up charges against them, and now they are serving the punishment. Also, lastly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to draw the attention of the committee and also seek clarification from the chairperson in line with the third person who is co-accused with Dr. Chiza Besigye. Would like to know the state in which he is and where he is. Did you interface with him in the prisons, or is out enjoying the freedoms, waiting to be brought back in the court-martial to masquerade around as if he was part of the plans that put the doctor and Honorable Lutale into the cells? I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Emmanuel.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. The report, I can say thank you for that report, for both the majority and the minority. And Right Honorable Speaker, this has been occasioned by the question that people asked here, and mainly about the health of Dr. Kiza Besigye and also his feeding. So other things are coming in only as a, by the way, as a discovery of what people found out there. Mr. Speaker, I want to say I admire Dr. Besigye a lot about his resilience, because some of us would have chosen just to die. Because what Dr. Kiza Besigye has gone through, some of us are not prepared to take. We would rather die and we go away. But also, I want to warn, because over the weekend I was in Nebi. The perception people have is whether you release Dr. Besigye today, he stays for I don't know how many years, but eventually he dies. People were telling me there is no way there will be no accusation of government, because whatever he has gone through for all these years have accumulatively impacted on his health. And that is the warning which is there. And I had seen the minister who was praying that Besigye is okay. She had come, but now she has gone away. I wish we continue with such prayers. Because honestly, I don't know, by the confession that now he is feeding well, now he can access his doctor, if by that confession, if we see Besigye now, he can be looking good. Because ordinarily, Besigye was looking so bad. And I don't think as a government, we really want somebody to go to that extent. And finally, Right Honorable Speaker, I have never been to prisons as either a prisoner or on remand or something. But the reports I get, I really feel for our people. We have a prisons in my constituency, Wadilai. If you see the amount of work these people do and the foods they produce, I would imagine from that they could even sell and make sure that they can eat fish, since we are close there. They can eat a variety. They can produce their own food, sell some, and make sure that the money they get, they can have also other sources or other varieties of food. Because when I hear that they are only on posho and beans, and I'm very sure even the beans must be very poor quality. And yet they are producing so much that can be sold, and from the money they can now buy other foods which they eat. Really, it's something we need to look at. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Onekarit. Allow me first pick FDC MPs. And then those who are FDC by association like Okupa. But you are an independent here. So, yes, Onekarit, then Batua.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I feel the pain. I feel the frustration that Dr. Kizza Besigye is going through. Mr. Speaker, in 2021, I was arrested when I procured an ambulance for Kitgum municipality during the COVID-19. I was subjected and a very poor treatment, isolated in a very bad small house. My senior number was a call, cubicle. I did not sleep that night. I can feel the pain of Dr. Besigye persevering the solitary confinement, having a passage of 4 gates to access him. 4 gates, 6 gates. The confinement of him not being allowed to go for prayers. Prayers of everything. Mr. Speaker, in history and in record, we have heard of very many political prisoners who has been given even time to give wishes to the public. The likes of Mandela and so many people. For Dr. Besigye Christmas message to be denied, to be published, just because it is having the word of rights and freedom, it pains a lot. Right Honorable Speaker, I really request that this House and the government in particular should put their faith in the condition of Dr. Besigye, the pain he's undergoing, and many other Ugandans. If Besigye can be given space, freedom to socialize with these people, the people in prison, it will do less harm. Let him be given the freedom to socialize with the fellow prisoners. It's very important. The torment is terrible. Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Batua.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for granting me an opportunity to speak about the person of Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye. There is no doubt that if anybody is to name 3 important Ugandans that the name of Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye will miss. It is clear in everybody's mind that he has sacrificed for this country. It is clear in everybody's mind that he's a very, very popular person. The last time he was in an election, he garnered over 3.5 million votes as per the Electoral Commission. I was looking at the legal factors that inform the need to remand a person. And one of those is fear that that person will intimidate witnesses. Another is again to do with the fear of the risk of tampering with evidence. Then there is also fear that this person could run. Fear of the seriousness of the offense. When you look at Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye in this perspective and against these reasons, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, in 2005, the very first time Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye went to prison, he was in South Africa when charges, which in his words calls trumped up charges, were put against him. The charge sheet was sent to South Africa, read before him by a colleague, trying to intimidate him and scare him from coming back to Uganda. He did the opposite. He didn't hide in South Africa, even in knowledge of what would happen when he gets here. Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye boarded the plane. He came to Uganda, and true to what he was told, he was arrested, he was detained. He was the first presidential candidate to be nominated while in prison. Now, if you look at that against this, being a high-profile person, he is sincerely the kind of Ugandan you would prefer that in case he has a case to be answered of this nature, he should be kept at his home, in the comfort of his home, because I'm sure as and when is needed, he will present himself as he did when he was in South Africa. What is before us is a gentleman respected and loved by Ugandans, locked up 5 doors deep into prison. What would happen in the event of fire? Each door has 2 locks. The keys to those locks are centrally placed. What would happen in the event of fire? When a doctor like Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye, who has been in the bush, fighting for freedom, liberty in this country, talks of poison, it goes beyond the fear of food. You can look at it in the nature of solitary confinement that he's in. You put him in one room and other prisoners are sharing rooms. As a doctor, he knows that he can inhale poison.
Honorable Senators.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye is one of my motivators to why I'm here today. The inspiration he has given to many of the youth and many of the leaders who are coming up, it has been because of Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, at 70 years, Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye, a freedom fighter, a liberator of peace in this country, deserves being treated with respect and dignity, despite all those detentions and torture that he's going through. Right Honorable Speaker, today, as we head into the 2026 general elections, most of us are in fear as opposition from this side. Now that the president is giving those directives of no bonds, no bails, we are all victims of falling into the same situation that Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye is in today. If you are opposing government, anything can happen to you. But also, even you who are that side of the NRM, you can also fall victims of exactly what Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye is going through. My prayer, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, is detention, unlawful detention, and arrest. While we went to the court martial in Chibuli, in Makindye, I saw the pain that he held at his face. It was exactly demonstrating what most Ugandans are going through. The pain of a father, the pain of a husband, the pain of that woman who is dying silently when his husband has been arrested, detained, the pain of a husband, a father or a brother whose child has been arrested innocently and he has no anywhere to go for justice, but only to beg government. I saw the wife, Honorable Winnie Byanyima, pleading to government the first time that before he was taken to court martial for.
Honorable Cooper.
Right Honorable Speaker, I was just seated thinking and reflecting on those people who are in prison, in the police cells, in ungazetted places. It reminded me in 1988 when, as a young man, 18 years old, I was arrested by the NRS, undressed, locked up in a room of over 20 people, naked, women and men, and women were raped in our eyes. I spent 3 days without tasting any food. The bucket system was being used. The porridge was being brought in buckets. You all have to dip your hands. You have not washed. You have been urinating in the same place. So when I reflect on that, it brings to pain in one's heart. It's not until possibly you have been there that you'll get to know the pain one can go through. At that age, I went through that for 3 weeks. So when we are speaking about this issue of congestion, it perturbs me. And it's all, I think it's not only limited to the prisons. Even the police cells, I want to call upon the Committee of Human Rights to do some impromptu visits to the police cells within the Kampala. On the 29th of December last year, I had got news that one of the people from Kasilo had been arrested and brought to Kampala, Chalwajala police station. They had been there for 5 days. I looked at them, there were 7 of them in a cage, like the way you see chicken in Nakawa market, or the markets here. I have a photo here of those people. They could only stand. They did not have where to squat, but they had to kneel on one another in order to sleep. So I want to call on the Committee of Human Rights to visit these places, to know how people are suffering. Just for petty, just on petty issues. I was reflecting how you can be on beans and posho for 28 years, like the case, Right Honorable Speaker. For 28 years, beans and posho only. Right Honorable Speaker, when you mentioned about Honorable Kabuye, that when was he born, I just said, can you imagine someone without conjugal rights since the time Honorable Kabuye was born? Honorable Kabuye has even got children. How many of you can last all that? That's even the pain. Right, Honorable Speaker. You can take it to different dimensions to make you feel. Maybe that's the language you need to get in and get feel. And you even don't know for what case this someone has spent all those years. I wish Attorney General was still here. I would have asked him whether.
Thank you, Honorable Mujete.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker, I am not a member of the Committee of Human Rights, but because I'm the person who raised this matter here, I went with the committee as an observer. And I've been following up the matter, and I want to thank them for the good job. And I was there when Dr. Wese was ushered in. I looked at the members. Apart from Honorable Fox, I saw almost everybody crying. I think Fox is the strongest. I don't know the strongest, or he was not as touched as most of us. But two, I have read
Honorable Chair, my wonderful friend, the Honorable Francis Mwijushe, has stated on record that he observed the members of the committee and concluded that almost all of them cried except me. Is the Honorable Mwijushe a competent and fit person to determine emotions of people? And is he in order to insinuate that I am a heartless member of parliament without any feelings?
Now, what if he cried from inside, if there was a cry? Okay? Yeah. So, but honorable colleagues, let's not try to insinuate that. I know we can express our opinion is better.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. And I wanted to say, while there, Dr. Wese said, health-wise he was okay.
No, Mwijushe, your colleague, who was gracious enough to invite you, even as an observer.
Yes, he's a very strong man. He's a very strong man. He couldn't cry. He's very strong. After all, he's a chair. If a chair cries, who will remain? But Right Honourable Speaker, I actually put it to Doctor. He said, you're accessing doctors. You say your health is fine, but we see you frail. What's the problem? And he said, it is trauma. Yes, he says it's trauma. And we said, but how? He actually said, with this trauma, these doctors can actually not treat it. So he said, the only solution for me is to get out of here. Otherwise, with trauma, doctors cannot find solutions to it. Because you would see that even when he says that he's accessing services, but he's weaker. He actually at some stage almost fell down while he was standing to speak to us. But I just wanted to conclude by saying that Parliament has done a good job, because when we discussed it, I'm told after our discussion here, it is when prison services started discussing certain issues which have since changed. So the role of Parliament will not be underestimated. So I want to thank you, Honorable Speaker, for taking up this very important issue, asking Honorable Fox, the strongest, to lead the committee that has come up with the report that will remain in the history of this country for the future. And of course, to also...
Thank you. Lope? Lope?
Honorable Speaker, I'm glad that the Human Rights Committee went to visit Dr. Kizza Besigye and Haji Obed Lutale. You know, when I said here that it's important that as Parliament we do something so that we don't let down these people. So this is step number one. But you see, it's only step number one. I hope that we can push government on some of these concerns. The concern of solitary confinement has come through again and again. For those that have been to prison, solitary confinement is actually a prison within a prison. Normally, for especially the convicts, when some of them, become errant or whatever the case might be, that is when they will be taken to solitary confinement. It's a punishment. But now here you are, Dr. Kizza Besigye, he is still innocent until proved guilty, but is being punished And that's why we are concerned about political persecution. Because clearly that's what it is. You'd wonder why. Somebody said that, you see, he's allowed for a priest to go to him and pray with him. But again, that's taking away his right to freely associate with other prisoners. They excuse that he's very popular and so there will be excitement. How is that his problem? Honorable Speaker, one of my colleagues did ask about a new co-accused of Dr. Kizza Besigye, Captain Dennis Ola. I was consulting our Shadow Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, who is a member of this committee and went. In his interaction with the prisons officers, they said they do not have him. They don't have a detention order for him, so they don't know his whereabouts. And it's concerning in two ways. One, that this could have just been propped up as a red herring. But two, that very concerningly, he could be held God knows nowhere. But where is this man? I hoped that the committee would follow this up to establish, because you see now, it is Dr. Kizza Besigye, Haji Obed Lutale, now there is Captain Dennis Ola. I thought that you'd pick interest in him because he's a co-accused. Where is this man? We didn't hear that. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, the learned Attorney General talked about police bond. Let me reiterate. Article 28(3)(a) of our country's constitution talks about the presumption of innocence. You see, this whole narrative of these thieves should be denied bond, these thieves, it is only a competent court that can determine that somebody is a thief, somebody is a murderer, somebody is whatever. Because when you refer to them, even by referring to them as thieves, you have convicted them. You don't have that right, regardless who you are in this country. And that's why they are treated the way they are treated. Honorable Speaker, you remember a couple of days ago, there were some people who were shot at by police. And then they said, you see, 3 of these people have been on our wanted list. We've been looking for them. Arrest them and take them to court. But you see, they are treating them as convicted people. And that's the challenge there is, even with this whole, let's ban police bond, let's ban bail. Because you treat these people as guilty already. The Constitution is clear. Let there be due process. Then a competent court can determine that this person is guilty, so they should serve a particular sentence or that kind of thing. And that's why there's negative attitudes towards some of these people. You see the way Dr. Kizza Besigye is being treated, because as far as he's concerned, he's saying these people have already adjudged me guilty. That's why they're treating me the way they are treating me, solitary confinement and taking out all these different rights, because you don't treat these people as suspects, which is problematic. Because you see, any of us, Right Honorable Speaker, whether on this side or on this side, can on any day find themselves in a situation like this. The other day, and I say Honorable Paul Akamba is here, we were talking about him when we were asking questions. We were asking government, where is Honorable Paul Akamba? Because he was granted bail and arrested and kidnapped, actually, within the precincts of court. And for about 3 or so days, no one knew where he was. And we were asking. And he belongs to that side. So this should not even be a partisan issue. It should be of concern to all of us, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I will respond to a few issues. The first issue is solitary confinement. Right Honorable Speaker, the facts are clearly captured in the report. Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye is detained in a wing that has a total of 20 prisoners. 20.
20 or 18?
Let me go back to my records. You are correct. A total of 18 prisoners, Right Honorable Speaker. Solitary refers to the word soul. It's a singular. You cannot impute. There's no way you can state that a wing that accommodates 18 people has a prisoner in solitary confinement. Common sense issues, and those are the facts. Number two, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker. It's also not true. No, can I explain this? Can I just explain it? I will give you the opportunity. No, I will allow. In the wing where Kano Dr. Kizza Besigye is detained, there are rooms, single rooms, and there's a cell, an open cell. Kano Kizza Besigye occupies one of those single rooms that is never locked. Fact, the door is never locked. Directly opposite him is Haji Obed, occupying a single room that is never locked. So they are not in solitary confinement. And we had this discussion even with Kano Dr. Kizza Besigye. The third issue I wanted to clarify, Right Honorable Speaker, is access to TV. And I should apologize, we did not report on this. The prisoners have access to a television set. It is the size of that television up there. Yeah, that television is in a corridor. We asked Dr. Kizza Besigye, do you have access to TV? He said yes. We are permitted to watch news on NTV and on NBS. He specifically stated those two television sets. And we asked him whether he has access to newspapers. We had a 3-hour interaction with Kano Dr. Kizza Besigye. We interrogated every aspect. And his answer was, yes, I have access to newspapers. The newspapers are censured by the removal of expressive female photographs. That they remove female photographs before they give them the newspapers. This morning.
So you mean like Honorable Nambo's picture, Besigye cannot access it in his papers now?
If he's partially nude.
No. She's always decently dressed. She doesn't.
Yeah. But so this morning we tasked the Commissioner General of Prisons to explain the rationale of removing female photographs from newspapers. And his answer, which is even contained here, is we need to maintain order in the prison service. And I can understand.
No, Honorable Chair, please, I don't have much time. Please.
The next issue that we should clarify is Captain Ola. We asked the prison services for the whereabouts of Captain Ola when we visited Luzira. They gave us answers at that time. But this morning, they again submitted their position in writing. This report, the written submissions of the Commissioner General of Prisons is contained in the documents that I laid on the floor of the House. Their answer is at page 7, number G. The question was, if the court-martial directed that Captain Dennis Ola be brought to Luzira prison, why is he being held elsewhere? And the answer is the following. Section 58 of the Prisons Act states that no person shall be received or admitted in prison custody without a valid commitment or remand warrant, order or detention warrant of conviction or committal signed with a court seal or authenticated by a person authorized to sign such a warrant. Uganda Prison Service has never received any of the above documents to admit the said Captain Dennis Ola in the prison's custody. It continues at page 8. At page 8, they state the remand orders for Kano retired Dr. Kizza Besigye and Haji Lutare are hereby attached. As already mentioned, Captain Dennis Ola is not in our custody. And we have on our record the detention warrants of the 2 prisoners. We don't have the detention warrant for Captain Ola. We investigated this matter further than that, and we got the testimony of Dr. Kano Shiza Besigye to the effect that he met Captain Ola for the first time in the dock. And he interrogated Captain Ola. The information he got from him is that he has been appearing before the General Court Martial for a very long period of time, and he's remanded within Makindye Barracks. That information, I have not had the opportunity to verify. And that's the reason it didn't appear in the report of the committee. Right Honorable Speaker, we undertake to continue making impromptu visits to police cells. During the course of last year, the Committee on Human Rights visited police cells in the whole of eastern Uganda, starting with Jinja all the way to Karamoja, and we are working on a report that we shall present very soon. I didn't want to make any comments on the state of capital, on the state of Kano, Dr. Shiza Besigye, but only to state that as a Christian, I feel for every person in prison. I feel for every person in prison. As a human being, I know the inevitability of ending up in prison. As a human rights lawyer, as a human rights defender, I have a duty to protect the rights of every citizen of the Republic of Uganda. So to insinuate that there are some members of the committee who are better predisposed to Right Honorable Speaker, we asked Kano Dr. Shiza Besigye to make a self-assessment of his strength, his health. When he was produced before the committee, I had even asked him to make his submissions while seated. And his answer was, I am strong enough to stand. He stood up on his own volition and made a presentation that lasted 3 hours. So where the Honorable Francis Mujushe gets this position that he couldn't even stand, I don't know. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Dur, you wanted to?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, my 1 second is not about anything in rebut. I want to just thank you for giving the Committee of Human Rights business. This committee that I've been part of and I've complained, and it must go on record, is one of the most dormant committee. And if you had not given us this business, the whole of this financial year, it was possible that it would go without the Committee of Human Rights doing business. So I want to thank you so much and appreciate you and invite you to give us more business to do.
No, but Honorable colleagues, your mandate, for each committee's mandate is provided for in our rules. Okay? Honorable Fox.
Right Honorable,
you should thank me for giving you business.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving us business. But Right Honorable Speaker, it's not true that we are a dormant committee. What is factually correct is that the Honorable Udur has missed more than the 15 sittings of the committee. And I will never raise that issue. Right Honorable Speaker, I rose.
Mr. Speaker, I am on record. I know what constitutes a committee meeting in Parliament. a workshop by entities other than committees of parliament in Golf Course, in Imperial, purported to be a committee meeting. It's not a committee meeting. I have the record. I can prove the chairman has been inviting us members to workshops organized by NGOs.
That's not true. Now, no, honorable colleagues, now we are going beyond. No.
Right, Honorable Speaker, can we make progress?
Yeah.
There's a more serious issue. Right, Honorable Speaker, I had some preliminary consultations with the authors of the minority report to try and narrow the gaps. They make 2 recommendations, and we are amenable to adopting the first recommendation. Parliament takes keen interest in the fears of retired Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye. For whatever it's worth, I would concede that we adopt this together with the recommendations of the committee. Right Honorable Speaker, in respect of the second recommendation by the minority, I pointed out to the Honorable Udur that we think this offends the law. And in my discussions with him, I also stated to him that this matter is already in court. I think it's only in the premise of the court to grant the orders sought by this recommendation. It's only the courts that
I get you.
It's only the courts that can make orders for the termination of the trial of Dr. Kiza Besigye and the transfer of his trial to the civilian courts. So, if my brother can be heard on this matter, we could make progress and resolve this issue. I beg to move.
Thank you. Attorney General, you wanted to, what's your view on this second recommendation?
It is a position we agreed upon with the committee chairperson that this matter is most likely going to be addressed in the ruling of the Supreme Court that we expect to come up on Friday. So, in any case, it is outside our ambit now to decide whether it should be civil or criminal court.
Thank you. Honorable Jonathan, I had also read it, and reading was feeling like it's going beyond the scope and our mandate as Parliament to order, okay, that the detention in Luzira be terminated and any trial be held in civilian court. I felt it was going beyond, but usually we consult. These are issues where we can build consensus. Honorable Jonathan, I don't know, what's your view on the opinions expressed on this?
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. For the record, the recommendation number 2 was that the minority report recommends that the trial of retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye and subsequent detention in Luzira be terminated and any other trial be held in the civilian courts. I have no problem if the House thinks that this is the recommendation needs to be dropped. But I just want to invite the Attorney General and the Chair to also take cognizance of this fact that in criminal cases, the prosecutor is the executive, ordinarily. And even where there is a compelling reason to prosecute, they can decide to discontinue the case. I was just coming from that angle, that since they're in control, out of so many other factors that I didn't want to mention, it could be health, it could be the things we have discussed, they could find in their in their heart of the executive, I'm not meaning us, to say we are considering this. But if that makes, if it's problematic, I have no problem, because this is not my sole recommendation. It is for the House to adopt, and if the House feels like a more moderate and considerate can persuade the executive, then I have no problem conceding to it.
Thank you. You see, Honorable colleagues, now you can see the intention of Honorable Jonathan. He wanted to bring this issue to the attention of the executive, to go and think about it and all. But in the end, it becomes a recommendation of Parliament. And the moment it's a resolution of Parliament, Rule 220 will apply, where we shall come and ask for action. So it's no longer now something to go and think about or what. It's something you must go and implement, which would really, colleagues, offend the law. And the way I'm looking at this minority report, it enriches the main report. Okay? So, if you remove this part, which is a bit problematic, listen, if you remove this part, which is problematic, then you would be able to adopt both of them at once, so that it's more or less one report, and we shall demand action on both of them. It's an issue which we should agree upon. These are issues of human rights. We shouldn't be having so much debate and on it. So, okay. So honorable colleagues, I'm going to frame my question this way. The clerk will clean it up. But I put the question that the report of the Committee on Human Rights to the Zero Maximum Security Prison to assess the prison conditions of Colonel Dr. Chiza, retired Dr. Chiza Besigye and Haj Obed Rotary Kamregeya, together with the minority report, save for recommendation number 2, be adopted. Those in favor of the minority report. Those in favor, say aye, and the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Okay? Yeah, I think this is clean enough. Yeah? It's clean enough. You had something to respond to? Just wait.
No.
Wait a bit.
Right.
No, just the revert on the general.
Right, Honorable, you've made a number of directives, and like Odul said, there were several other commitments made earlier. I'm humbly requesting that the office of the clerk gives them to us in writing, so that we see how best to address them.
Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, I've received a request from the chair, a budget committee. They've told me their report is not yet ready. So if we start tomorrow at 10, it will be difficult for them to really present. But you remember we have a